day to you, my grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's mathematical literacy lesson. My name is Bernard Donko. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. So today we are going to look at the topic maps, plans, and other representations of the physical world. In short, we call it maps and plans. So under maps and plans, we are going to focus on scale. I've given it here as the subtopic. You can see it, scale. So join me and let us go through it together. At the end of the lesson, what I hope you will be able to gain and understand more is to be able to explain the meaning of a given scale. When the examiner gives you a certain given scale, what does that mean? How will you be able to explain it? You should be able to determine the different types of scale and their advantages as well as the disadvantages. You should be able to use a given scale to determine the actual length or distances. And then you should be able to determine the scale of a map or a plan. All these are the things that I hope by the end of the lesson you will be able to do. Now, your knowledge about how to write ratios will be very key here. How to convert from kilometers to meters, centimeters, millimeters will be very vital. And then your scale of measuring will also be needed here. Also, being able to use a calculator will go a long way to assist in you understanding. So join me as we go over the topic. One, the first thing that you have to look at, let's look at some of the terms. We're looking at number scale. When we say a number scale, what does it mean? And why are we explaining now? I am explaining because during the course of the examination, the examiner can ask you to explain any of the things that I've shown you on the screen. So a number scale such as 1:50,000 means that 1 unit on the map represents 50,000 units in real life. Please take note of this sentence because that is what we want you to write in the exam. When we say explain what the scale 1:50,000 means, we want you to write 1 unit on the map or plan represents 50,000 units in reality or in real life or on the ground. Don't include your centimeters, millimeters, and so on. If you know how to use them very well, that is okay. But where you put, let's say 1 centimeter on the plan represents 50,000 kilometers, now you see you have used 2 different units. And sometimes the markers can mark you wrong. So I'm suggesting to you that use the word unit. 1 unit on the plan represents 50,000 units so that it covers you. Whether you use centimeters or millimeters or meters, it doesn't matter. You are going to get your full marks. When we say a scale drawing, we are talking of a diagram of a real life object drawn in proportion. So for example, if you make a scale drawing of a car, it will be in a certain ratio to say one of this size on paper is going to represent this much in reality. That is what we call a scale drawing. When we say scaled elevation plans, we are telling you about what it shows, the design and dimensions of the outside of a building. So when we have a plan of a building and we are able to show the various faces that are working as a ratio, that are in proportion to the actual drawing, we are calling it as a scaled elevation plans, meaning those are the actual dimensions. You find that on the elevation plan, we are going to say maybe 25 millimeters. That 25 millimeters is coming from the scale that we used in terms of drawing. So we have actually done the actual measurements there. All right. When we talk of bar scales, they are presented as a picture. It means that if you place a ruler next to the scale, you could determine how many centimeters or millimeters next to this scale. You could also determine how many centimeters represent the specified kilometers. So we'll go over it. We'll try to do examples so that it will make more sense to you. Now let's go into scale. So when we say a scale, let's say in examination the examiner asks you to explain the term scale in this context, then you can write something like this. A scale determines how many times smaller an object shown on a plan or map is that it's its actual size. So a scale helps us determine how big or how small an object is going to be in real size. So when I have a scale of, let's say, 1:20, it means what? 1 on paper is going to be 20 times larger in real life. That is the job of a scale. Let me say it again. A scale determines how big or how small a real size object is supposed to be. So if I had 2:1, it means if I measure 2 on the plan, it's going to be only 1, meaning the scale is helping me to reduce, make it smaller. But if I have 1:2, it means that every time I measure and I get 1 on the plan, in real life, it must be times 2. So it means it's going to be larger. In MathLit, we usually talk of the types of scale that we use. The first one is the number scale. Sometimes other teachers can say linear scale, others can say ratio scale. All of them are acceptable. They are fine. So we have two types of scale. We have the number scale and the bar scale. Please use the terms that we use in mathematical literacy, not other subjects, so that we avoid the issue of maybe a certain marker marking it wrong. Rather use number scale or bar scale. All right, so let's look at what we call number scale. When we say number scale, what is it? We are saying using a given number scale to calculate real and actual distances. Can you see what I've given here? 1:20,000. This is an example of a number scale where you have a value or a digit on your left side, you have a column, and you have another number or digit on the right side. That is what we call a number scale. So now, how do we use it? How are we going to use this number scale to find a real life measurement? Let's give an example here. Assuming you have been given 20 centimeters. That is the measurement on the map or the plan. Now, the examiner is asking you to calculate the real distance. All right, so for us to do this, it is very much simple. I'm going to show you something that if you know it already, that's fine. But if you don't know, it is going to help you a lot. Look at this diagram. When I have this line, I mean multiply. This line means divide. Then in here, I'm going to put AD. This side, I'm going to put MD. And then on my right side, I'm going to put SF. Whenever you see that I have written AD, I mean actual distance. When you see me writing MD, I mean the map or the measured, okay? Map or measured distance. Are we together? Good. When you see me having SF, I'm talking of the scale factor. What am I talking about? Scale factor. So this diagram is going to help you to solve any question about maps and plans. It is very necessary that you get to understand what it talks here. So let's see if we can use this diagram to answer the question that we're having here. Can you see in this statement says if 20 centimeters is measured on the map, measured where? Map. So it is map distance. The map distance is what? 20. Good. Then the examiner gave you a scale. Do you see that the scale that we have here, it says 1:20,000. Because on the left side we have 1, it means whatever value is on the right side is what we call our SF or the scale factor. So the scale factor is not the whole thing called 1:20,000. No, the value on your right side only. So my scale factor here is going to be equal to 20,000. So now you see there are 3 items in this triangle, and already we have got 2 of them. What do we have? We have the value that is measured on the map, meaning it's our MD, and then the examiner gave us a scale. So from the scale we get our SF, scale factor. Now that is the reason why the examiner says calculate the real. Another word for real is actual. So which of these 3 represents actual? AD. Meaning if we want to find AD, if we want to find actual distance, what do? We say MD multiplied by SF. Are you getting the whole point here? So let's go over it again. The scale is what? 1:20,000. 20,000 is our SF. In the question, there's a value of 20 centimeters. What is that value for? That is our MD. MD. So now we are left to find AD. So we are going to say AD equals to MD times SF. Then what you are left now, you come and substitute. What is the MD? 20. What is SF? 20,000. Do you see what I'm talking about here? So we have two numbers, but then because we had our triangle, AD, MD, SF, whatever you want to find, you cover it with your finger. So in our case here, we are going to cover the AD. The two items that are showing up is MD and SF. Then what we do, we multiply them. So we are going to say 20,000 times 20. You take your calculator and then you press 20 multiplied by 20,000. So I'm going to get 400,000. Then you write your 400,000 down. But now what unit? The unit is the one which came from the question. So the unit is what? Centimeters. Are we there? But now that you have gotten this answer, maybe the examiner will give you 3 here. But the question is 5 marks. How do you get the other 2 marks? The examiner says, no, I want the answer to be in kilometers, meaning we have to convert what we have here from centimeters to kilometers. You do remember, I think by now you know it, to say kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. So kilometers to meters, you times or divide by 1,000. Meters to centimeters, you times or divide by 100. And then centimeters to millimeters, you times or divide by 10. So when we are going from our left side way to the right side, then we are going to multiply, meaning from something big to something small, we multiply. If we are moving from something small to something big, then we are going to divide. But in our case here, can you see we have centimeters? We need to take it to kilometers. Where is our centimeters? Is here. We need to go back to kilometers. So going back means we have to divide. Divide by how many? Can you see the number of zeros here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is 100,000. So what we will do, we will take that 400,000, then you divide it by 100,000. You take your answer. Remember, it is still on your calculator already. You just say divide by 100,000, and then the answer is going to be 4. So your answer from 400,000 centimeters to kilometers is going to be 4 kilometers. Then you get the other 2 marks, 1 mark here, 1 mark there, making it 5. Do you see how you do it? So now let's look at the examples that I've also given to you. I've given you 2 ways of doing it. Let's look at the first one. You take that 20, which was from the MD, divided by 1, multiplied by 20,000, because it's what? AD equals MD times SF. That's how you get the 400,000. Then we are converting from where? Centimeters to kilometers. That's why we are dividing by 100,000. If you want to go the second approach where you are not dividing by 1, you are just going to take your 20 times 20,000. It will still give you 400,000. Then what do? You convert. So another thing that is going to help you to do this work is that while you are doing maths and plans, learn to do conversion. And for you not to forget, I suggest that immediately you get any question, whether it's the teacher giving you work in class or you are doing past papers or during the exam, no problem. On the paper, you write your kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. Other teachers will teach you about King Henry died, miserable death, called measles. They all work in the same way. So if you know that one, use it. If you don't know, also use this one. It will help you a lot. Meaning when we are moving from left to right, can you see where I've put the arrow? It means I'm moving from big to small. So we multiply. If I go backwards, it means we are moving from small to big. Therefore, we have to divide. Then you must put your 1,000, 100, 10. At the end, there must be 6 zeros. So if you can check, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. Do you see how it works? Meaning, if you want to convert from centimeters to kilometers, you are here. How many zeros are on your left? 5 of them, meaning you're going to divide by 100,000. But take it that the value was in kilometers and you wanted to take it to centimeters. It means you are moving from something big to something small. Therefore, you will multiply. So in our case here, we are dividing because our answer is in centimeters. Are you with me, my learners? Good. Our answer is in centimeters, so we have to take it back to kilometers. That is why we divide by 100,000. All right. Now, let's get to number scale. How do you work with a number scale? Let's say if needed, you have to measure. What it means is that the examiner can say, determine the scale from this town to that town. Then they give you a map or a plan. In some cases, you have to be the one to measure. You have to be the one to measure. Hence, when you go to any kind of question paper you are solving, whether it's in the classroom or you are on your own, I need you to have with you a ruler and a calculator. It will help you a lot. I know sometimes it's a challenge, but it will be a nice idea that you have your own ruler. It will help you a lot. Then once you measure, you write down the scale. So let's say from point A to point B, they are saying in real or actual, it is 4 kilometers. Then you have to measure here with a ruler. Maybe you are going to get 2.2 centimeters. So when I say write down the scale, then it means that the value that you measured, which is 2.2 centimeters, is being used to represent what? 4 kilometers. Now we have got a scale. So once you are able to have a scale, then you are able to apply any of the two methods that I've given to you so that you know how to convert it. Meaning you can convert this one because this value which you measured is already in centimeters. Then you can convert the kilometers to become centimeters. We are moving from something big to something small. Meaning we are going to times it by 100,000. Meaning we are going to get what? 400,000 is to 2.2 centimeters. You see how I've gotten my scale? Then the next thing that you have to do is to ensure that you divide both sides by the number that you measured. 2.2, this side is going to be 2.2. So 2.2 centimeters divided by 2.2 centimeters, you're going to get 1 because centimeters will cancel centimeters. Then you put your colon here. Then you take your calculator and you press 400,000 divided by 2.2. What do you get? There's the value on the calculator. That is going to be what? 181,818.18. So it's going to be 181,818,18. You can round it to become 181,818. Now you have gotten what you call the simplified scale. You have managed to simplify your scale. So now it's easier for you to do any work that you want to do. You see how you can be able to get your own scale. So what you do is that definitely the examiner will give you one of the values. Then you use your own calculator ruler, measure on the plan or the paper, and then equate that to the value which the examiner gave to you. That is how you get your own scale. All right, let's talk of number scale. So we are using a given bar scale to calculate the actual or real length or distances. So let's look at it then. Let's say it has been given that bar scale, we are using it to determine the missing length of a given unit. There is our nice bar scale. How do we go by it? The first thing you do, my learner, ensure that you measure. What do you do? Measure with ruler. So can you see this small blue line here? Put the beginning of your ruler on it. Measure to the end of this line. Measure. Please take your ruler and measure. So take it that maybe when you measured, you got 3 centimeters. You are the one who did that measurement, isn't it? Good. So you write your 3 centimeters down. Then you put your colon, the one that we call is to. So it's going to be 3 centimeters is to. You see you measured the whole bar. So what is the last value on the bar? 200 kilometers. Then you come and write your 200 kilometers here. Sorry, 200 kilometers. So you have now gotten a scale, but the scale is not yet in a simplified form. You have a scale, you can use this to work it out. There's not going to be any problem. But let me show you also in a simpler way so that you can work it in a simplified form. This is what you do. Remember, you have measured the whole bar, you got 3 centimeters. So divide this side by 3 centimeters also. Divide this side by 3 centimeters also. Then, do you remember that this is a kilometer, it's not centimeters. So, you have your kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. You have to change from centimeters to kilometers. So, multiply everything here by 100,000. Are we okay, my learners? Let me take it again. You have your bar scale. The first thing you have to do is to measure. So let us all measure. You pause the video, you measure. Whatever value you are using there. You measure. Let's say we got 3 centimeters. Whatever value you got, you must write it down. Maybe you got 2.5. You got 1.8. Whatever the value, write it down. And then you put your column, divide by the last number on the bar scale. That's how I wrote 3 centimeters is to 200 kilometers. The next step is divide both sides by the value which you measured. That's why you see me having what? 3 centimeters divide by 3 centimeters again. Then the 200 kilometers also divide by 3 centimeters again. Why am I multiplying by 100,000? Because I am trying to convert from kilometers to centimeters so that all my values are the same. Remember what I told you when we started. It says 1 unit on the plan represent what unit in reality. So here there is a centimeter and there is a kilometer. That is the reason why I have to ensure that both my units are the same. Right. So now 3 divided by 3 is going to be 1. Then I put my colon, which is what? Is to 1 is to. So what I do, take your calculator and press 200 divide by 3 multiply by 100,000. So now I have a lot of 66. Then you're going to read it out. It's going to be 6,666,000. So it's going to be 6,666,666,67. Then what do? This is now your simplified scale. So it means whatever value the examiner is going to give to you, you just multiply by the scale factor. Remember, as long as there is 1 on your left side, whatever the value is on your right side is what you call the scale factor. This is your SF. So whether they said find the real distance or what, it doesn't worry you. Let's look at here. The length on paper, I got 15. Remember, this is just on the screen. So I would love that you measure and get your own measurement. Now, for you not to get confused, so let's look at the steps. The first one is to measure the length of the bar, which we did. I hope you have not forgotten. We measured from the beginning to the end. Then we are going to measure either in centimeters or millimeters. Don't measure in meters. We have gotten a scale. Try to use millimeters or centimeters. If you measure in millimeters, you're going to end up timesing everything by million. If you measure in centimeters, you're going to multiply everything by centi, 100,000. That's how it comes. Centi means out of 100, so 100,000. All right. Then the next thing is to write your ratio. So look at what I did. Remember, I said I got 3 centimeters. So now it's going to be 3 centimeters is to 200 kilometers. What is the next thing you have to do? Convert the kilometers to the same measured unit. Can you see that I measured in centimeters? So I'm going to multiply by centi, 100,000. If I had measured in millimeters, I was going to convert by multiplying by million, 1 million with 6 zeros. Then you apply any of the methods that I've given to you initially and you are fine. So let us see. Why do we use bar scale? What are the good things about bar scale? I remember recently past papers, they were asking, write one advantage of using a bar scale. So here are some of the advantages. If you resize the map or plan, meaning whether you make it small or big, it does not affect the bar scale. So your first advantage of a bar scale is that resizing is not affected by the bar scale, meaning if you make it big, the bar scale becomes longer. If you make the paper small, the bar scale becomes shorter. Those are the advantages. Now, bar scale, when you are given, there are two ways that you have to look at it. The purpose of you getting the whole bar scale is so that you can convert this bar to become a number scale so that you can start working. Are we good? Because the way it is now, it is very difficult to work with it. But once you are given, the examiner wants you to create a number scale from the bar scale. That is why they are giving that to you. And then in some cases, it can be used the way it is also. But please remember that as long as you are working with the bar scale, you are going to determine a number scale from the bar scale. All right, now let's find out how do we get to determine a scale. I've already touched on it already, but I hope you're going to get it correct. Let's say, for example, the measured length MD is 12 centimeters, and then the actual is 1,245 kilometers. The examiner is saying, determine the scale of the map in the form 1:. Are we together? So, first thing we have to do, because the examiner has given us two values, then we are going to write it down. Can you see where I've shown you measured is to actual? What is the measured? You put your 12, whether it's centimeters or millimeters here. Actual is what? 1:45. 1:45. So the scale is now 2 centimeters represents 1,245 kilometers. What have we learned so far? You see that the two units are different. So the first thing you have to do, make sure the units are the same. Which one should we be converting? The centimeters or the kilometers? Kilometers, thank you. So for us to convert to kilometers, it means we are going to times it by 100,000. Then, now that we have we divide both sides by 12 centimeters, divide both sides by 12 centimeters. This will help us work it out simpler. So now 12 centimeters divided by 12 centimeters is going to give us 1. Isn't it? Whenever you divide any number by itself, you get 1. So we are going to get 1, and then you put your colon here. Then you take your calculator. We are going to press 1,245 divided by 12, then we times it by 100,000. So it's going to be 1,245. Then you press your divide button, divide by 12, you shift to the right side, and you say times 100, 1, 2, 3, 100,000. Then you press your equal sign. You see? Then it gives you the answer that you're supposed to write. So what I have here is 3. It's going to be 10,375,000. You see it now. It's what? 10,375,000. Remember the examiner said, write it in the form 1:. This is the form. So you have managed to write the scale as 1:10,375,000. You have gotten the scale, and maybe like in this work, you're going to get 3 or 4 marks. It is very, very simple. What you have to remember is that whatever the value the examiner gave to you, write it down, put your column, whatever is the real distance you write on the side, because we are talking of the map value being used to represent real measurement. Are we together there? So once you're able to write it down, divide both sides by the MD, the measured distance or the map distance. Then from there you convert. I hope you understand what I'm talking to you about. All right. Now, since we have done a lot of examples, let us see, because we have to ensure that we do understand much better. Now it's time for you to work. So I've given you some few questions here. Question number 1, meaning in your book, write the activity, write today's date. Let's start working. First question says, given a scale of 1:250, the measured length is 10 centimeters. Calculate the actual. Do you see the examiner is leading you so that it's easier for you to work? Remember that triangle that I spoke to you about? You can still use it here. AD, MD, SF. They said they want real or actual. So which one is my actual? We don't know it. So it means the examiner has given you MD and SF. Which one is your MD? Map distance or the measured distance. It is 10 centimeters. Then from the scale, you are going to get your scale factor. What are you getting? Scale factor. So I want you to be working so that we can refill the answers together. Number 2, the examiner gave us another different scale. 1:50,000. The MD or the measured length is 35 centimeters. Calculate the actual. You are doing something like you are doing number 1. Look at number 3. Given the bar scale below, if the measured length, the MD, which is what? 15. Calculate the real or actual. Are we together? So it means this time the examiner has given you the bar scale. What do you do with the bar scale? What is the first thing? Try to remember the lesson that we've had so far so that you can work with it. All right. Then number 4. If the measured length, your MD, is 280 millimeters, million, which means you are going to multiply by a million in the end. If the measured length is 280 millimeters and the actual, the AD, actual distance is 15 kilometers, your job is to determine the scale of the map in the form 1:. We did something like that now. So I've given you 1, 2, 3, 4 questions of different testings. I want you to see if you can get them correct. You have exactly 8 minutes. I want you to pause the video, write your date, everything, and start. You have 8 minutes. If you finish more before 8 minutes, that would be good. It means we get more time to go over the example. So 8 minutes, and then we come back so that we can be able to answer the questions together. So let's start. Welcome, learners. So let's see. The first one says the scale is what? 1:250. What are we going to get from the scale? We are getting our scale factor. Don't forget. The MD is already given to us. So let's go and check. What you do, you write the scale that the examiner gave to you. They said 1:250. So what is the 10 centimeters going to be? Can you see that on my left is already 1? So my scale factor is 250, meaning I multiply the 250 by the 10. So my answer is going to be 2,500 centimeters. Now, remember, the answer is 2,500. But what am I supposed to be doing now? The examiner is asking me to leave the answer in meters. So it means we are changing or converting from centimeters to meters. We are moving from something small to something big. So that is the reason why we are dividing by 100. If they wanted us to change it to kilometers, we're going to divide it by 100,000 because we had measured in centimeters. Good. Let's look at number 2. The examiner said the scale is what? 1:50,000. Then they gave us a measurement of 35 centimeters. What do? We multiply the 50,000 by 35. Then we are going to get 1,750,000. It is in centimeters. So how do you convert from centimeters to kilometers? Centi. I told you now, centi means what? 100. So it's going to be 100,000. Now you see, we are going to divide by 100,000, not multiplying by 100,000. We were only going to multiply by 100,000 if we were changing from kilometers to centimeters. But now our answer is in centimeters. So we have to go back and change the answer to kilometers. So we are going to get 17.5. All right. Now let's look at number 3. Number 3, they gave us the bar scale. So what I wanted you to do is to measure on your own. I got 2 centimeters. My learners, measure and get your own. If you got 3 or 4 or 5, whatever the value, it's okay. Use it. So I got 2 centimeters is to the last value, which is what? 300 kilometers. Then what do I do next? I'm going to divide both sides by 2 centimeters, meaning 2 centimeters is to 300 kilometers. Divide here by 2 centimeters, divide by 2 centimeters. Can you see this one is in kilometers? So it means you have to multiply by 100,000. Multiply by what? 100,000. So multiply by 100,000. So 2 centimeters divided by 2 centimeters will cancel each other. You get 1. Then you take your 300 kilometers. So you take 300 kilometers. Then you press your divide button. Divide by what? 2 centimeters. Then you shift and go to your right so that you put your times 100. Then you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 15 million. So if you are looking for the scale, then the scale is 1:15 million. Now you have gotten a scale with full marks. Okay, let's look at number 4. The examiner said the measured length is now in millimeters, not centimeters anymore, because they said milli. If we have to convert, we are going to multiply by million. Milli, million, centi, century, 100. Right. So 280 millimeters represents 15 kilometers. What do? We have to convert the kilometers to become millimeters also, meaning that is the reason why you see me multiplying here by 1 million. So now 280 millimeters represents what? 15 million millimeters. What do? Like we did the first one here. We divide both sides by 280. So 280 divided by 280 is going to give you 1. Then you press your 15 million. Divide by 280, then your answer is going to be 53,571.43. 53,571.43, but even 1 decimal place is still fine. Did you manage to get some of this correct? Because that's what you are going to write in exam. So when you feel that you're having a challenge, pause the video, go over it again, and start all over. Let's go to the next activity. If a house plan is drawn with a scale of 1:50, the moment is 1 to something, it means the value on your right side is your SF, scale factor. Do not forget. Our scale factor is 50. It says calculate the missing dimensions from the following table. So now we're having the length of the kitchen. They gave us the 90 millimeters. That's the MD on paper. They want the actual. Then the B, we don't know it, but they gave us the actual. Then on paper, they gave us 24 millimeters. They want to see the actual. So here you have 1, 2, 3 questions, 6 minutes, learners. Let us go over so that we can answer quickly. All right, welcome back, my learners. So let's look at the first one. Remember the scale is what? 1:50. So they gave us 90. What do? We multiply 50 by 90. Again, learners, have your calculator there. You take your 50, you times it by 90. To confirm, see, I got 4,500. Then to get from millimeters to meters, what do? We are now dividing only by 1,000. That's why you see I got 4,5. How about the B? The scale is still 1:50. In real life, they are saying it's 2 meters. So I'm going to convert this from meters to become millimeters. So you see, I am multiplying 2 meters by 1,000. So I'm going to get now 2,000. Then on the plan, I don't know what it is. So what I do is to take that real divided by the scale factor. The real is 2,000. Scale factor is 50, so it means that on paper is going to be 40 millimeters. Remember the diagram I've shown you here, AD, MD, SF. This is how we work. If the line is straight, it means I want you to multiply. If the line is horizontal like this one, I want you to divide. Here we were looking for the MD. MD is going to be actual divided by scale factor. What's my actual? 2000. Scale factor 50. Okay, let's go to C. Our scale is still 1:50. And then we have got 24 millimeters on paper. So all we have to do is to multiply the 50 by 24. So you take your 50, multiply by 24, and you're going to get 1200. But now it is in millimeters. So to take it to meters, we divide by 1000. That's how we got 1.2 meters. I hope you are getting this one correct, because I know you're going to do very well. All right, let's go to number 2. You have been given a scale of 1,083,333. Calculate the actual AD. Don't forget, actual means AD. Actual distance, the answer must be in kilometers. From where? Mossel Bay to East London. So if the given distance on that map is given as 60 millimeters, what are we going to do? They have given you a scale. You're going to get your SF there and then MD. Meaning, what do we do? Learners, this one is only going to take you 3 minutes. So can we quickly pause the video, get it, and let's reveal the answer together. 3 minutes. Welcome, learners. Okay, so let's reveal the answer. Do you see what I do? I write my scale down. You have to write what the examiner has given you, what the teacher has given you to do in class. Then they said the distance from Mossel Bay to East London is what? 60 millimeters. So what I do is to multiply my MD by the SF. Do you see I did not write 1:1,083,000. I just wrote only 1,083,333. Multiply the 2, you are going to get 64,999,980 millimeters. But remember, the examiner says the answer must be in kilometers. So now we have to convert from milli to kilo. Milli means million, meaning we are going to divide by million. That's why you see 6 zeros there. So then the whole answer will be 64 point what. So I'm rounding everything to 65 kilometers. Good. How about this one? It says determine the distance from Dinale to Lushon. So let's find them. Here is Dinale and there is Lushon. Then the examiner gave you this scale. How do you do this? 3 minutes. Let's go. We come back after 3 minutes. All right, welcome back, learners. So this is how I wanted you to approach it. The first thing you have to do, I want you to measure the distance from where? Dinale to Lushon. Measure, so that you can use that to represent whatever you want to do. So let's go back. We are now having our scale. It says 1:3,007,874. So whatever I measured, I'm going to multiply by my scale factor. What's my scale factor? 3,007,834. So what you are going to have here is going to be 6,015,748. And like, remember what we are doing here? We are changing from millimeters to kilometers, meaning we divide this side by 2, divide that side by 2, and then from there we multiply by 1 million so that we can get our answer. So the total answer we're going to get is going to be 6 kilometers. Now let's come home. I'm bringing something that has got an area like a school play field. It says use the bar scale given. Here's our bar scale. Use the bar scale given to estimate the actual size in meters of the swimming pool. Where is our swimming pool? Here. That's 4.1. 4.2 says health and safety regulations require that the swimming pool has a fence around it. The fence must be a minimum of 1.5 meters from the pool. Calculate the minimum length of the fence. Note, the fence is indicated by the dashed line. So when you see this small dashed lines, that is the fence. So I've given you 2 questions. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Let's see how far you can be able to go. After 5 minutes, we'll come back and discuss together. Welcome back, learners. So here is the scale. What do you do when you see the bar scale? You have to measure it. So I am measuring everything. I got this much. But remember, when you have the paper, you measure and get your own. So what you do, now that you have been given the 20, these measurements, you have to measure and get them from this point to that point, and then from the beginning to the top. Measure and get your own value. So whatever you are seeing here is what I am giving to you to say, I measured and I got this much. You have to measure the paper that you have in front of you so that you can be able to use your own measurement. So the length of the scale is now going to be 9 millimeters is to 3 meters. Remember, you can also measure the whole bar. So it could be, let's say, 18 millimeters is to 6 meters. It is still fine. Measure the entire bar. And then, since you have gotten 40 in terms of the length, this one is the width, the 20. The length is 40. So what is our value? In real length is 13.4 meters. The width is what? 6.7 meters. Right. Let's go to 4.2. We are looking at the length of the fence around it. So the length is, the width is 6.7. So what are we going to do? We are going to add 1.5 on the left, 1.5 on the width. Remember, the examiner says it must be 1.5 meters away from the pool. That's why you see me adding 1.5, 1.5. So the total width is now going to be 9.7 meters. Then, let's go. The length is 13.4. So the length also, this side plus 1.5, that side plus 1.5. That's why you see me having what? 16.4. So what will be the perimeter now? The total distance around the pool. So I'm going to say 9.7 plus 9.7 plus 16.4 plus 16.4. The total length of the fence is going to be 52.2. Okay, let's go to question number 5. A picture of an assembled bench is shown below. Determine the scale, meaning they didn't give us a scale. They are saying determine the scale if the length of the bench is 1,200 millimeters. 3 minutes, let's go. You have to determine your own scale. What scale was used to make this diagram? 3 minutes, we come back. Alright, welcome back, learners. So this is how I want you to approach such a question. The first thing you have to do is to measure the length, because they mentioned length. So you measure the length from here to that point. I got 47 millimeters, like 4.7 centimeters. It's being represented with what? 1,200 millimeters. Remember what we have been doing before? We divide both sides by the value that you measured. That is why you see me dividing by 47. This side also by 47. So 47 millimeters divided by 47 millimeters, you get 1. Then 1,200 millimeters divided by 47 is going to give you this value. So now the scale is what? 1 is to 25.53191489. Round it to 1 is to 26. We have gotten 5 marks for free. It's very simple. Alright, there's a different question now. It says, the map below shows an area in the Free State Province. Determine the scale used on the map in the form 1 is to ... If the distance between Welkom and Kroonstad is 75. From where? Welkom. What is our Welkom? We must look for it. There is Welkom to Kroonstad here. They are saying that the real distance from Welkom to Kroonstad is what? 75 kilometers. So what are we supposed to do? Find the scale. 3 minutes, my learners. Now I know you are getting better and better, so find the distance quickly. 3 minutes, we come back. Welcome, learners. So this is how I wanted you to do it. You measure the distance from where Welkom to Kroonstad on your own, 38. Measure and write your own value. It must not be 38. If it's 38, it's fine, but use the one that you got. So, can you see my 75 is in kilometers? If you see that I have multiplied by 6 zeros, it means I measured and I got 38 millimeters. So converting the 75 kilometers to millimeters, I multiply by 1,000,000. That's why you see me having 75 million. Then divide both sides by the value which you measured. Hence, you see I'm dividing by 38. So my scale is what? 1:1,973,684.211. Okay, now I've given you something for an aeroplane. I want to see if you can get this one while you're flying. It says the length of the jet stream on the picture is 9.9 centimeters. Its actual length is 19.25 meters. Take note. Can you see here is centimeters? There is meters, so they are not the same. You have to do some conversion. But what I want you to do is to determine the scale. What is the scale? Rounded off to the nearest 10 in the form 1:2. First, get the scale. We'll talk of the nearest 10. So 3 minutes again. Let's go. We'll come back quickly. Welcome, learners. So this is how I wanted you to work it out. Where is the 19.25 coming from? They're saying that's the actual. Are we together? The 9.9 is coming from the measurement. So they are saying 9.9 is being used to represent what? 19.25. Meaning divide this side by 9.5, divide that side by 9.5. So isn't it your value is going to be 9.9 centimeters is to 19.25. So divide this side by, this is centimeters, that is meters. Divide by 9.9 centimeters, divide by 9.9 centimeters. So that these two will give you 1:2. Then you press your 19.2 meters divided by 9.9. But remember, this is in meters. So we are going to convert from meters to centimeters. That's why you see that I'll be multiplying by 100. Then you get 194.4. So the scale is 1:194.444. But remember the examiner says to the nearest 10. So 94, is it closer to 90 or is closer to 100? 94. Remember the 4 is small, so it's closer to 90. Hence, I'm going to get 1:190. That is how you get that value. Now it's time for you to have something to do. If you want to be strong, if you want to be very much ready for the prelim and the exam, I suggest that all the activities and the homeworks, you do them so that the following lesson, you can come and ask questions. So I've left you with some homework. I hope you are going to do all of them. What have we talked about today? We have talked about number scale and bar scale, how to find the actual length or the actual distance, how to find the measured distance, how to even get the scale factor. We have tackled all these three. For you to remember, I need you to go over and over again because practice makes perfect. And then whenever you are given a bar scale, remember what I said you should do. Measure it so that you can use it to find the last value to say, whatever I measured is to 200 kilometers. I hope you will understand much from now onwards. In the next lesson, we want to deal with packaging. Packaging, yes, a lot of maths there. So be sure not to miss this important topic. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for having stayed with us up to this point. We will see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.